Imagine you finally found the love of your life. The atmosphere is perfect, the lights are low, everything feels romantic. You move closer, the moment happens, and for one beautiful second, you think you've won. Then your partner turns around, bites your head off, and starts eating your body. Welcome to dating in the animal kingdom. Humans complain when someone leaves a message on read, forgets an anniversary, or refuses to pay for dinner. But in nature, a toxic relationship isn't just a metaphor, it's a biological reality. There are no awkward breakups, no blocked phone numbers, and definitely no couples therapy. Sometimes the relationship ends with one partner becoming dinner. For the 10 animals we're about to investigate, mating isn't the beginning of a new chapter. It's the final scene. Some are murdered by their partners. Some willingly sacrifice themselves. And some have bodies that seem to press a biological self-destruct button the moment their mission is complete. Today we're entering nature's most unfortunate dating club. 10 animals that reproduce once, pay with their lives, and never get the chance to regret their choices. And we have to begin with a tiny Australian mammal that looks innocent enough to be kept as a pet. Don't trust the face. This is the antechinus. It looks like a small mouse with bright eyes, soft fur, and absolutely no idea that its romantic life is about to become a biological disaster movie. Male antechinus live for roughly 1 year. For most of that time, they behave like any other small mammal. They search for insects, avoid predators, and try not to become someone else's lunch. Then mating season begins. And every survival instinct they've spent their lives developing is thrown straight out the window. For a few intense weeks, the males stop caring about sleep, food, injuries, or even basic self-preservation. They travel long distances searching for females. They fight rival males, and when they finally find a mate, a single mating session can last for hours. Sometimes nearly 14 hours. Yes, 14 hours. At that point, it's no longer a date. It's an endurance competition with an unbelievably unfortunate ending. To keep going, the male's body floods itself with stress hormones. Normally, those hormones are helpful. They're the same emergency chemicals that allow an animal to escape a predator. But this time, something goes terribly wrong. The stress response never switches off. The male remains trapped in emergency mode. His immune system begins to collapse. His fur starts falling out. Open wounds appear across his skin. Infections spread. Internal bleeding begins. And yet he keeps searching for more females. By the end of the breeding season, many males look less like healthy animals and more like exhausted zombies dragged through a washing machine filled with broken glass. Then they die. In some species, nearly the entire adult male population disappears within weeks. The obvious question is, why? Why would evolution create an animal that destroys itself during reproduction? Because for the male antechinus, there may never be another breeding season. The females become fertile during one short window, and the competition is brutal. Saving energy for next year is meaningless if your chances of surviving until next year are already slim. So the males transform themselves into disposable biological batteries. Every last drop of energy is spent on passing on their genes. Romantic? Not exactly. Effective? Apparently. But at least the antechinus is destroyed by its own body. The next animal completes a journey so brutal that by the time it reaches its partner, it's already becoming a swimming corpse. That animal is the Pacific salmon. For most of its life, a salmon lives in the ocean, eating, growing, and doing normal fish things. Then something changes. A signal buried deep inside its body tells it to turn around and swim back to the exact river where it was born. Not a similar river, not the nearest river, the very same one. This journey can stretch for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of kilometers. The salmon battles powerful currents, launches itself over waterfalls, slips past hungry bears, avoids fishermen, and keeps moving even as its body begins to fail. At first, it looks like determination. Then you realize the fish is literally consuming itself just to finish the journey. Once it enters freshwater, the salmon stops eating. Its digestive system begins shutting down. Its body starts burning through stored fat and muscle for energy. Imagine attempting the hardest journey of your life while your own body slowly eats itself from the inside. The salmon's appearance changes too. Its jaw may grow into a large hook. Its skin darkens. Fresh wounds spread across its body. Fungus may begin growing on its flesh. By the time it reaches the spawning grounds, it often looks less like a healthy fish and more like something that should already be floating downstream. But it keeps going. It still has one final mission. The female digs a shallow nest in the gravel. She lays her eggs. The male releases sperm over them. And once that mission is complete, both begin to die. There is no return trip to the ocean, no recovery, no second chance. The journey was always one way. But the story becomes even stranger. Their deaths aren't wasted. As the salmon decompose in and around the river, nutrients gathered during years in the ocean are released into the surrounding water and soil. Those nutrients feed insects, plants, fungi, and countless tiny organisms. Many of those organisms eventually become food for young salmon. In a disturbing way, the parents don't simply die beside their offspring. They become part of the ecosystem that helps those offspring survive. That isn't parenting. That's becoming the grocery store. But at least the salmon is only fighting against its own failing body. The next animal has to survive its partner's teeth first. Because now we've entered the second category, the Last Supper. And our first volunteer is the male redback spider. The male redback spider has one enormous problem. The female is much larger than he is. She's stronger, heavier, armed with venom, and perfectly capable of turning him into a snack before the date has even properly begun. So the male approaches with incredible caution. He steps onto her web and begins sending tiny vibrations through the silk. Those vibrations are essentially his way of saying, "Please don't eat me. I'm here for romance." If the female accepts him, mating begins. And then the male does something that seems completely irrational. He performs a small acrobatic flip and deliberately places his abdomen directly above the female's mouth, not accidentally. Deliberately, he is offering the softest, most vulnerable part of his body while mating is still taking place. And the female often accepts the invitation. She bites into him, then she begins feeding. Meanwhile, the male continues transferring sperm. Imagine trying to finish the most important task of your life while someone is slowly eating your stomach. That is his love life. For years, the explanation seemed simple. The female was hungry. The male was too small to escape. Case closed. But scientists noticed something unexpected. Males that were eaten often remained in position longer. That extra time allowed them to transfer more sperm. And once the female had eaten a large meal, she was sometimes less interested in mating with another male immediately afterward. So the male's death could actually increase the chances that his genes, not a rival's, would fertilize her eggs. He wasn't simply becoming dinner. He was becoming dinner with a strategy. His body became a meal, a distraction, and a biological security system all at once. But the redback spider isn't the most famous example of sexual cannibalism. That title belongs to the praying mantis. Almost everyone has heard the story. The female bites off the male's head during mating. As shocking as it sounds, the reality can be even stranger. A hungry female mantis may attack before mating begins, during the act, or immediately afterward. She grabs the male with her spiked front legs and bites into his head as if it were nothing more than a crunchy appetizer. Normally, losing your head would end the evening. For the mantis, it can actually improve performance. Unlike humans, many of the male mantis's mating movements aren't controlled entirely by the brain. Important movement patterns are coordinated by nerve centers distributed throughout the body. In fact, the brain can suppress some automatic mating behaviors. When the head is removed, that restraint disappears. The headless male may continue mating with even stronger, fully automatic movements while the female consumes the rest of him. He has no head. He is being eaten alive, and somehow the lower half of his body is still completing its final mission. That isn't romance. It's a biological machine refusing to stop after the operator has already disappeared. The female benefits from the meal as well. Producing eggs requires enormous amounts of energy and protein. A male's body provides both. In a very literal sense, he may help nourish the very offspring carrying his genes. But there's one important correction to the popular story. Not every male praying mantis dies during mating. Sexual cannibalism depends on the species, the female's hunger, and the conditions around them. A well-fed female may allow the male to escape unharmed. A starving one may not even wait for introductions. The male knows the risk. That's why many approach cautiously from behind, move with incredible care, and leap away the instant mating ends. The successful males aren't always the strongest. They're often the ones with the best timing. But then we arrive at an animal whose partner doesn't just bite him, she can swallow him whole. That creature is the green anaconda. Female green anacondas are giants. They can be several times heavier than the males, and during mating season, a single female may attract an entire crowd of suitors. Not two, not three, sometimes more than 10. They wrap themselves around her body and around one another, forming a massive knot known as a mating ball. It looks less like romance and more like a pile of muscular garden hoses all fighting over the same parking space. And this strange contest can continue for weeks. The males push, they squeeze, they wrestle for position while the female remains at the center of the chaos. Eventually, one male succeeds. He has outlasted the competition, he has survived the struggle, he has won, or at least he thinks he has, because the female now faces a different problem. Pregnancy demands an enormous amount of energy. A female anaconda may carry developing young for months, and hunting becomes much more difficult as her body grows heavier. Fortunately for her, she's surrounded by exhausted males made entirely of protein. In rare documented cases, a female has killed and eaten a male after mating. She coils around him, she suffocates him, then she swallows him whole. The male arrived hoping to become a father. Instead, he became a protein shake for his own future children. It's brutal, but biologically, it makes a strange kind of sense. The nutrients from his body can help the female survive pregnancy. His genes continue inside her. His body simply becomes part of the investment. But being eaten by your partner is only one way reproduction can end badly. The next animal doesn't need anyone else to kill it. Its own body does the job. Consider the male honeybee. Inside a beehive, the males are called drones. They don't collect pollen. They don't build the hive. They don't defend it from predators. For most of their lives, they eat, rest, and wait for one extraordinary opportunity. Eventually, a young queen leaves the hive for her mating flight. As she rises into the air, drones from nearby colonies race after her. Only the fastest and strongest are able to catch her. For the successful male, this is the greatest moment of his life. It is also the last. During mating, tremendous pressure builds inside the drone's abdomen. When he separates from the queen, part of his reproductive organ is violently torn from his body and remains inside her. The damage is catastrophic. His abdomen ruptures. He falls from the sky. Within minutes, he dies. He spent his entire life preparing for just a few seconds in the air. Success didn't reward him, it destroyed him. Nature didn't even bother giving him an exit strategy. He is a biological single-use device. The organ left behind can temporarily act as a mating plug. But it doesn't permanently stop the queen from mating again. She may remove it and continue mating with other drones, which means the male doesn't even know whether he was the last. He dies, falls from the sky, and the competition continues without him. But at least we understand why the honeybee dies. His body is physically destroyed. The next animal is far more mysterious. The male dark fishing spider doesn't need to be bitten. He doesn't need to be eaten. Nothing tears open. Nothing visibly breaks. He mates with the female. He transfers his sperm. Then, almost immediately, something extraordinary happens. His legs curl beneath him. His body goes still, and he dies. It's as if someone pressed a hidden power switch. Mission complete. System shutting down. The female may eat him afterward, but she isn't what kills him. His own body appears to trigger the collapse the moment reproduction is finished. Scientists still aren't completely sure why. One possibility is that his body, left near the female, discourages rival males, or provides her with nutrients that ultimately benefit his offspring. Another is that finding even one receptive female is so difficult that investing absolutely everything into a single mating simply became the best evolutionary strategy. If another opportunity is unlikely, surviving a little longer offers very little advantage. But then we arrive at an animal that doesn't leave its entire body behind. Instead, it sends one detachable body part to do the job. And somehow, that's even stranger. That animal is the argonaut, sometimes called the paper nautilus. Despite the name, it isn't a nautilus at all. It's actually a species of octopus. And its mating strategy feels like something from science fiction. The female can be dozens of times larger than the male. He's tiny, fragile, and understandably reluctant to swim directly toward a giant female that might mistake him for food. So evolution came up with an unusual solution. One of the male's arms is specially modified to carry sperm. When the time comes, he detaches that arm from his own body. Yes, he literally tears off one of his own arms. The detached arm then enters the female's body and continues delivering sperm without him. For centuries, early naturalists who discovered these detached arms inside females believed they had found some kind of parasite. That was a reasonable assumption. A severed arm crawling around inside another animal doesn't exactly look like reproduction. But it wasn't a parasite, it was a highly specialized reproductive organ. By sending only the arm, the male can fertilize the female without remaining dangerously close to a much larger partner. It's probably the safest long-distance relationship in the ocean, at least until you remember that he just ripped off part of his own body to make it happen. The male may survive for a short time afterward, but like many other cephalopods, he usually reproduces only once before dying. His body was never designed for years of family life. It was designed to deliver one final package of genetic material and quietly exit the story. But the next creature takes permanent commitment to an entirely different level. Deep in the ocean, where sunlight never reaches, finding a partner can be almost impossible. The water is vast, pitch black. Two individuals may spend their entire lives separated by enormous distances. A male could search for years and never encounter a single female, so when he finally does, he refuses to let her go. He bites her. At first, it looks as if he's simply holding on. But something remarkable is happening. Enzymes begin breaking down the skin where his mouth touches hers. His tissue fuses with her body. Their blood vessels connect. Soon, her blood is flowing through him. From that moment on, he no longer needs to hunt. He no longer needs to search for food. He doesn't even need many of his own organs. His eyes begin to shrink. His digestive system slowly disappears. Much of his body is gradually absorbed into hers. Little by little, the male stops being an independent animal. He becomes nothing more than a permanent reproductive attachment. He has gone from boyfriend to biological accessory. In some species of anglerfish, a single female may carry several fused males at once. Whenever she releases eggs, each attached male releases sperm. They are technically still alive, but only because her circulatory system keeps them alive. So does the male die after mating? Not immediately. Something even stranger happens. His independent existence comes to an end. Almost everything that once made him an individual disappears, leaving behind only the organs needed for reproduction. It is marriage taken so literally that both partners eventually share the same bloodstream. But not every deadly mating story ends with the male. Sometimes the mother pays the ultimate price, and few animals sacrifice more than the female octopus. After mating, she searches for a safe den and lays thousands of tiny eggs. Then she stays. She carefully cleans each egg. She removes dirt, fungi, and parasites. She constantly fans them with fresh water so they receive enough oxygen. She guards them day and night against predators. Days pass, then weeks. In some species, months. During all this time, she may stop eating completely. Even when food drifts within reach, she ignores it. This isn't simply because she's too devoted to leave. Something much deeper is happening. A gland near her brain begins releasing hormones that trigger an irreversible chain of events. Those hormones push her body toward fasting, decline, and eventually death. Her muscles weaken. Her skin loses its color. Old wounds stop healing. New ones appear. As the weeks pass, she becomes increasingly exhausted. Some females even begin damaging their own arms in the final stages of this process. Yet she never abandons the eggs. She spends every remaining drop of energy protecting thousands of young she will never meet. Finally, the eggs hatch. Tiny octopuses drift out into the ocean for the first time. Only after her job is complete does the mother die. She never teaches them to hunt. She never watches them grow. Her entire future was invested in giving them a chance to have one. And that raises the biggest question of all. Why has evolution produced this same terrifying pattern again and again? Different animals, different oceans, different forests, different continents, yet the same final price. Life, in exchange for reproduction. For humans, survival usually means staying alive. Avoid danger, find food, protect your body, grow old if you're lucky. But evolution doesn't measure success that way. Evolution doesn't care how long an individual survives. It cares whether that individual's genes continue into the next generation. From evolution's perspective, Reproduction is the goal. Survival is only the method. Which of these animals do you think had the worst fate? The spider that offered himself as dinner? The bee that died in midair? Or the anglerfish that slowly stopped being itself? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy strange stories where science is often stranger than fiction, subscribe, because nature has many more horrors waiting to be discovered.